Now, I want to talk about holy grails, fountains of youth, snake oil, and modern false hopes. Most of you probably recognize this picture from one of the Indiana Jones movies. And I want to talk about the history of broken promises for panaceas. Panacea is a Greek term for a remedy for everything. And it's actually in the medical dictionary, if you want to look it up. The earliest panacea, I shouldn't say the earliest, one of the earliest panacea was actually ingested by the first emperor of China, Emperor Qin. He was the same emperor, by the way, who made the terracotta warriors and started building the Great Wall. He was convinced that if he took mercury pills every day, he would live forever. And do any of you know what he died of? He died of insanity and mercury poisoning. So if any of you have a spouse that's driving you crazy, you can drive them even more crazy and kill them off with the emperor's magic potion. Another panacea was the Holy Grail, first instituted by Percival and then, of course, popularized with the legend of Sir Galahad. Another Holy Grail, or a panacea, was the Fountain of Youth that Ponce de Leon looked for. And a more recent one was snake oil. By the way, did any of you know that snake oil was patented? It was patented in 1712. And I know we all laugh about it now, being crazy. But did you know that snake oil actually has some therapeutic good things to it? It's very rich in omega-3 fatty acids. So it's not as crazy as it sounds. But I don't suggest you go to China and start looking for water snakes, because that's the source of the original snake oil. Now let's talk about some modern panaceas. You remember when everybody was so excited about gene therapy? My wife is a head and neck head and neck cancer researcher at UCLA. She's a surgeon at the VA hospital, and she spent the last 14 years studying head and neck cancer. And she had a very robust gene therapy program in the 1990s that completely was closed down. Do any of you remember why gene therapy went off the radar? There was a couple deaths. There was a death in France, I believe, and I think it was one in Pittsburgh. So I'm only mentioning this because it sounded great back then. But unfortunately, gene therapy, and that is the process of actually infecting a person's cells with a gene passed via a virus, has been largely gone by the wayside. The Human Genome Project. I'm not saying this is a panacea. I'm just saying that, remember, it was 10 years ago that we had the answer to all of life's secrets. And there was a very good article in Time magazine about this recently saying, you know, we know even more now about the human genome than back then, but yet we really have not been able to find the answers to all the things. Unfortunately, several trials recently where they did large gene screening studies to try to predict disease and predict other problems really did not show to be significant predictors. Now, I'm adding one more thing to this list. I'm hoping that stem cell therapy doesn't get added to this list in the 21st century, but it could. And for that reason, I'd like to raise the question, will stem cell therapy be the next snake oil? I personally, my belief is it's already become that. How many of you looked at the CBS 60 Minutes special on April 18? It was very, very discouraging. I am still just as interested and hopeful that stem cell therapies is going to be very, very useful for treating disease and aging. But a very entrepreneurial person by the name of Lawrence Stowe started a company that he called Biotherapy and started advertising and was claiming that he could treat ALS and I believe multiple sclerosis too. He was able to dupe several people into paying as much as $125,000 per person to have stem cell therapy done. Some people even sold their home to pay for enough money for their loved one to get this therapy. The patients would then go down to a clinic in Monterrey, Mexico, and as far as we can tell, this was just a fraud. So I'm convinced that stem cell therapy has already become a snake oil. But it's also a science. We have enough evidence to clearly say it's not all snake oil. We just have to make sure it does not become snake oil as well.